Soviets and Soviets Threat Army, how y'all doing? This is Con Ulrich.
And I'm Ringru, hello, hello, hello.
And folks, I'm back with new audio settings and everything on the map of Chell to kind of bring you a real interesting match. Rang, who do we have with what?
Left hand side in blue, we have Paul Hausser playing as 3rd Fallschirmjäger Division with a flatline income. And right hand side, we have Jardaboj playing as Naval Group Baktina with a Vanguard income.
So Naval Group Baktina. So I know there's a lot of trees here, a little bit of water, so I'm not completely upset. But what is in this division? This is one of the new divisions from the Black Sunday DLC, isn't it?
Yep, they're pretty interesting division as pretty much in A phase, they're pretty much relegated to only naval troops, and the naval troops are pretty bloody good. A lot of decent infantry and some support. And then by B and C phase, they get reinforced slowly by some more regular Russian infantry style units. But yeah, the infantry is good. Overall, pretty elite division. Main issue is that the only tanks is a single card of T-34-76s, so very light on armor. Pretty much non-existent.
Just want to get a quick look at some of these actual new troops as you're talking about here. So the Cherny Bujlati up here to the north, and what's that, 3 PPSHs, 9 SVTs, a DP-20, and a PTRD. Yeah, that's a pretty beefy squad right there.
Yeah, they're definitely probably a little bit too good for 20 points right now. I wouldn't be surprised if they eventually get nerfed to 25 or so, because yeah, 20 points for 9 SVTs and an anti-tank rifle is not bad.
That's putting it mildly, to say the least. And there's there's a lot of radios, it looks like, as well. I see 4 Austinats VMFs in the middle, 5 actually.
Yeah.
So lots of radios here. Does that actually evidence itself with some artillery as well, or no?
Maybe. I think you get a few radio-corrected artillery pieces with a naval group, but I mean it's Russian, so usually don't get a lot of that sort of equipment.
Now, of course, since it's the first time we're seeing this, people are still figuring out a couple of the small details here and there. The 3rd Fallschirmjäger, no pushovers when it comes to infantry, but I cannot help but feel like, especially down the center here, they're going to get just pushed back by sheer dint of numbers. And I can even see, yep, Fallschirmjägers being rushed into the center to kind of bolster what is already sure to be a sagging defense.
Yeah, a little bit outnumbered, which is kind of the problem that Fallschirmjägers usually face. And at close quarters, I mean, the Sturmjägers are good, but yeah, with real shorter numbers, Jardaboj will pretty easily just cleave through the center here with his pretty scary infantry force. So he is starting to get bombed a bit, and by God, that was a pretty good bombing run.
Exactly what the doctor ordered, that's for dang sure. Mildly amusing to see that we have some Fallschirmjägers up to the north that are going to take some artillery fire from about, what, 100 meters, 120 meters? Oh, never mind, they're down already. With the Fallschirmjägers being brought on in might be enough to kind of keep things a little more honest. The guys to the north getting shut down by those 76-2 artillery pieces, and down to the south, more of the Moskaya Sturm and Sturmoviki, really. Morskaya Pekota. There's the other major kind of infantry group that we see as well. Much more kind of rifle focused, not really as quite as multi-purpose as the Cherny Bujlati.
More of your cheaper throw in the front line.
Exactly. So look at them almost like grenadiers with smoke, isn't it?
Yeah, I like films like Ersatz Troop and Smoke, but not Disheartened. But it's really quite weird having smoke on like a regular rifle team. I mean, I do have a decent amount of SMGs, but it's not. I wouldn't really consider them CQC.
Doesn't seem to be the case. So how does 3rd Fallschirmjäger fight them if they don't have the ability to kind of keep them pushed back just by sheer infantry?
With the infantry, the Fallschirmjägers, you really need to play a bit more defensively. Let them come to you, preferably over an open field, where your FG-42s and MG-42s can just pretty much outshoot the Chinese at closer range, at longer range for the Fallschirmjägers. And yeah, just using a good amount of air power, fire support, and a few tanks and whatnot to try and get the edge on the opponent.
It does certainly seem to be one of those things that taking the edge off here at the 410s kind of coming on in. Not going to be perfect because we still have a couple of light tanks being brought out. Excuse me, the SPW AP-41s. I always, for some reason, see them immediately as tanks, but are a couple armored cars that will probably meet a rather quick end before too much longer.
Yeah. The nice thing fighting against the naval group, like I said, they don't really have any tanks. And they do have a decent amount of anti-tank, but you can get around out some good artillery. So you can do some pretty good armored warfare maneuvers on the naval group. I mean, these recon armored cars, just as long, bro, they're gonna get killed by this too. Maybe not, actually. Holy crap, yeah, the autocannon's absolutely tearing them a new one.
Well, the Ju-88 with the S1.
Hmm?
So that's what? Well, a whole lot of napalm. Oh my god! Oh my god!
We barely see people use that at first Fallschläger, but by god, that is... Talk about laying down the carpet.
I was going to say that's not the red carpet, that is the orange fiery carpet. Paul Hausser, just remember, only you can prevent forest fires, you can't do this. Oh man. We can see right now the Maxims as well, not going to do very well against something that, you can't really pierce even that light armor of the armored cars.
Yeah, those AB-41s have definitely come in at a pretty clutch position to try and slow down this northern middle aggression. They're down in the southern middle. We're seeing these Chernies pushing through, managing to capture two pretty easy flags right now, and in that forest, they're probably going to be pretty hard to rout out.
I'm just checking around to the other parts of the field. I know down to the south there's Stromovikis and Morskaya Pekotas coming on in, but despite the fact that some flame troops there and some more Stromoviki to the northern side of that road, I think there'll be enough here to kind of keep them at arm's length. There's an LG-42 that can get shifted on up, an F of the Fallschirmjäger MG-42 that theoretically is getting shifted on forwards, maybe a little bit too far. But there's opportunities here to kind of keep this particular push at range.
Yeah, you definitely want to try and keep them at definitely a machine gun's length when dealing with these Russian infantry. A little bit hard on a map like this, where shell is completely scattered in loads of forests. But there are openings and gaps where you can catch the enemy with the pants down in the middle of an open field, and the Fallschlägers will delete him.
Now, down to the south, you ever see that Sturmjäger kind of Morskaya Sturmoviki face-off here. And this is why I'm kind of fascinated, because like you said, those flames can be terrifying, but the Sturmjägers really should be successful in keeping the Sturmoviki at arm's length. But it doesn't look like that's really going to be the case. Yikes.
Yeah, naval flamethrowers, they have two flamethrowers on the squad. And also MP40s, which is also pretty funny.
That's true. I could definitely see that. Sorry, ME410 pushing back the Jardaboj, and one Fallschirmjäger squad is going to get completely deleted here in a second.
Oh. Yeah, very, good opener so far from Jardaboj, really taking advantage of his very well-equipped infantry and just pushing through. Like I said, this is a map that works very well with the naval group, just because there's so many places to throw in your infantry, and as you can see, Jardaboj is just throwing infantry all over the place.
Hey, if it's cheap as chips to use your particular phrase, might as well. I mean, there's more bodies for the meat machine for a reason. Now, I guess the major question is, though, first of all, the L6 attack, that we know that's the V for victory over here for the 3rd Fallschirmjäger. But what happens in Phase B? Is there an appreciable drop-off here, or is it just going to be, well, as long as I have infantry spam, I can win?
I think it'd probably be a little bit of a drop-off, especially in terms of economy, as we get a little bit later on. It's not a huge difference, per se, but all these elite naval troops are really only coming in A phase, and then once B and C phase hits and you start hitting a little bit of attrition, you usually start seeing more just regular guard units being brought in as reinforcements and some sapperies.
Well, the L6s are certainly going to get in and behind the Shinbashaltis, but the problem here is going to be if those guys can actually be seen. If they can't be seen, those L6s are going to die instantly.
Yeah. We got the armoured cars pushing behind enemy lines here. A little bit dangerous for during this sort of armoured play, because you don't have much armour and they have a lot of anti-tank rifles.
Well, and we're seeing 2 more surviving ZIS-2s being brought on in, so that's not going to keep them there for very long. And in fact, like you said, I think it's going to be a donation to the discard pile here. But once they unmask them, at least the air power can just continue to strafe and to cause a lot of issues.
It's pretty good seeing Paul using his air power and pretty heavy attacks as constantly. I mean, he knocked out his earlier with Messerschmitt 109 bombing run, and keeping those anti-tank guns, well, not on the field is definitely going to be beneficial for him. because he can then kind of use his armor. Here, as you see, we've got 2 Zis-2s coming in the middle hill, 2 Zis-2s coming up north. So Jardaboj is getting ready for any potential armored play.
He isn't he ready for it, but I feel like the better play would have been to just get some anti-air.
Yeah, it'd also be a good idea.
Now we're going to see a 1-3-2 off map being brought on in. First barrage being dropped. It looks like unless it scatters quite a bit, it's not going to have quite the impact he might be hoping for. There we go. 37 mils being brought on in from the back. 2 of those. Good. Good.
But it's quite interesting. One of the new naval off map being brought in, the 132 mil. You remember in SD44, the Commando Division with the rocket off map?
The Arty Party. Oh yeah.
Yeah, this is that. It's just like a bunch of Katusha rockets on a naval barge. So I believe if you use like the middle, like medium range dispersion for the off-map artillery, it lasts a very long time. But it will be a lot of rockets dropping down very shortly, as you can see.
Yeesh.
Yeah, it's like 238 rockets or something like that, if I recall. It's a lot of rockets, but he decided to use them all in one big, very quick barrage. We only get one shot of him, so it's... You really gotta make it count.
It's that shotgun. Got it. Well, that's definitely the way to do it. You want to make sure that he has it with both barrels. And you can see right now that's why he's not super concerned with keeping them off the front lines.
Yeah.
Actually, there we go. The Ju-88. This is going to be... This could be perfect or it could be absolutely awful. He could be able to get all of the... Yep, he's going to hit the reinforcement column here. That was beautiful. Yes, he died, but you know what? He rode out like a hurricane.
Yeah, that's pretty good knocking out all his infantry, but there's many more infantry where they came from. All of those naval riflemen coming in to reinforce, and yeah, so far Jardaboj has a pretty good hold so far on that central hill, which is also vital. Their pool is slowly but surely kicking them off the on that flag, just a little bit rest of the hill there. But those Chinese are still holding on. See, quite surprisingly, those Fallschlägers are not very good at close range compared to those Chinese.
Well, the one thing it is kind of, always a reminder, and there's plenty of lamentation about this. If you have infantry, you has the win. Like, and naval, like you see here, it definitely has that in spades. And now, your comment about seeing that being nerfed, I kind of can't help but agree with you there. That there's going to be some nerfs in the future for these guys.
Yeah, it's mainly just like the Chinese for the Chinese, like for 20 points they're pretty ridiculous. And also considering that strokey DPs were nerfed in this patch, it kind of doesn't make sense to have a unit like this in the game, considering strokey DPs were nerfed.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's exactly the same thing, really. Also, can we stop at the Moskaya Automachikis with the 12 Thompsons?
Yeah, of course we can.
It was absolutely amazing. And at the same time, just absolutely awful to be against.
Yeah, it's just really doing it Chicago typewriter style.
There was a Pac 38 over here down to the south. He's now completely cut off and surrounded, and he's going to die now.
Yeah.
But before he went, he was able to take out some of the infantry, so trying to make those rather long odds a little bit less long. That said, it remains still quite dire.
It does, yeah. This whole southern flank seems like it's going to collapse as Jardaboj is moving into the town. And once you capture that town on that hill, it's pretty hard to retake it from the enemy's perspective, as it's, quite literally an uphill battle.
Now look at the other direction with this. I can't help but feel, rather, that the way the 3rd Fallschirmjäger could have probably been a little bit more able to push this back is to invest into that tube artillery. Like, we talk about it all the time, but I feel like mortars, yes, it requires you to invest some, knockdown, drag-out fighting, but you've got to know that the naval group itself is going to be so infantry-heavy, it's almost not even funny.
Yeah, and in this sort of matchup, especially with all this forest fighting, 82mm mortars really help out a lot when you don't have those SMGs, which you can quite easily spam. Paul is getting more and more of the Feldjägers, and they are good, but they're not really that good in pushing infantry out of forests. They're only really good at defending the edges of forests. I mean, as you see up north, the Feldjägers in the open field are doing a pretty good job of holding off the Avtosquads, and the Pekahortas at long range are only Mosins. They're pretty useless.
But at that point, I'd be like, you know what, let's pop smoke and get close.
Mm-hmm. This is really what you got to do with those guys, and it's such a useful tool having all your regular rifle squads in this case have smoke, because I mean it's a pain in the ass to micro them all, but if you do it correctly, you can just cross open field without being shot at. But it requires quite a bit of micro.
So wait, micro? What's that? Don't people just say A move?
Oh yeah. You don't micro in this game. You just buy 9 rifle squads and attack move. That's all you have to do.
13 guards. But see, like, at the same time, this for me, I see that the 37 mils, and that's what I'm talking about. We have this anti-aircraft net, which is just terrifying to have 3 of these within about a kilometer of each other, and the 4th one being deployed. You need the tube artillery. You got to play to your strengths. Keep off the ground game. You got to keep it in the air.
And those bloody 37 mils are 2-star veterancy base, the ones that he chose. So they're going to be a real killer to any aircraft that flies over.
So I'm watching this Fallschirmjäger down to the south commit suicide.
Oh yeah. Those flamethrower teams are just brutal at 2 men.
Well, we're finally seeing the lone couple of tanks being brought on in the T-34-76, just the 42s. So those guys being brought onto the front, and somewhat embarrassingly, there's nothing else that can really scratch them.
Yeah, not right now. It's not looking all that good for Paul Hausser just looking at the map. But it's quite surprising. He's still holding on 13-11. It doesn't seem like he should be.
No, it does not. But all the power to him. Oh, you know why? Because we have the 500-kilogram bomb.
Yep.
That's exactly what it is here.
Yeah, once again, real good use of air power here from Paul. Completely stunning up the entire Pechota push. We got more Pechotas down south, just pushing on through, slipping in through the forest. And like we said, as we're seeing here, the Feldjägers, when they catch the infantry in the open, deadly, close range. They are not so deadly.
Well, and I guess modifying before, like you said, the Morskaya Pechotas are like, non-disheartened air slash troop, and I wasn't really quite appreciating that because I kept seeing the PPSHs on them.
Yeah.
But you're right. They walk point. They take the hits. So the Cherny Bershati, whatever they called, just kind of sit in the back and just kind of hose everything that comes towards them.
Yeah, and then you can use the smoke to get in close. It's a real nice combination between both of units, and also using them with the flamethrower troops as your Moskoya Sturm units don't have smoke grenades on them, so you want to be using the Pechota smoke grenade to cover your advance.
Just watching to the south as 5 squads of riflemen basically push back and take out these charging Sturmjägers, and I cannot help but feel that it's just such a waste, unfortunately, of 20 points.
Some of the Feldjägers behind enemy lines down south managed to ambush some T-34s, it seems, and get a few kills. That's actually really great benefit. Oh no, it's not behind enemy lines, but
it was the one of them though. Yeah, there's still 2 more coming in, but yeah.
It's all kind of funky down south because Paul has managed to retake the southern side in terms of the actual front line, but we still have some very scary flamethrower troops in the forest.
Yeah, it wouldn't be like a Sherwood map like we saw with SD-44, but it's still awfully close. These Stroogs are not going to be able to want to get very close here. And honestly, I'm trying to think about it. Not a lot of options in terms of even where to shoot and deploy those assault guns.
Yeah, I mean, up north is completely collapsed now, and this is probably going to be a GG for Paul. I mean, most undoubtedly.
But that is a very, very good thing for us to kind of see from that naval group in the first place, though. Everyone likes your Baktina, and when it comes right down to it, this definitely can highlight what they can do.
Yeah.
Albeit against a little bit more of a overshadowed individual.
Yeah, this is like with a lot of these infantry divisions, like First Poles, etc., etc. these divisions work really well on these close quarters maps. If we were playing on Sluch, for example, probably be a little bit harder of the sparse cover for your infantry forces.
Certainly seems to be the case.
It'll take us
But
2 times 2.
Absolutely at 2005. Times 2.
There we go.
So yeah, Paul, this is not to take away from the fact that you tried a very valiant defense here, just you're very much outgunned from the start. And we'll see that right now. These 3 Fallschirmjägers being brought on in, more being brought just below that to the south. And I kind of reckon that they'll be brought up to the north, and they'll get punctured by those S2s, or even by the Morskaya Otabachikis.
Yeah.
So
It's just like an SD-44, 3rd Fallschirmjäger is still a very weird division to play, because you're an infantry division, and infantry is really good, but it's bloody expensive, and it just does not work out well in close quarters unless you get a few CQC troops, which you can get. But for the most part, you're just spamming regular Fallschirmjägers, and they require pretty smart positioning to really get the most out of.
exactly. But we can see right now, we're going to go and see a rather widespread, I would say, KD.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely helped out by the fact that I think a lot of the stuff over here for Jardaboj was very, relatively speaking, cheap, and at least trading fairly well.
Yeah, the infantry for the most part. I mean, a lot of the stuff in that division is pretty cheap point rise.
But you heard it here first. Rang's calling a debuff over here on the Chernies, and I completely agree with him.
Yeah.
So, part of me wonders what would have happened if the Ju-88 had actually survived a little bit longer. I feel like the push has probably been a little bit more difficult.
Definitely could have stopped 1 or 2 more at least, but I mean, I think he needed more of those Ju-88s if he really wanted to, do anything major.
Exactly. But in any particular case, any further thoughts about this, sir?
None.
Well, in that case, folks, it's been great having an actual good audio sound with you guys today. Hopefully you guys are having a good time with this as well. Of course, this means we'll be back with a couple more replays later this week. Any final thoughts, sir?
Nope.
Okay, guys, in that case then, I'm Con Ulrich.
I'm Rangaroo. Take it easy.